What is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Crowded Lake, and today we're reading Chapter 19 of A Lesson in Practicality by ResidentAnchor on AO3. If you want to support them on AO3, do so with the links in the description below. With that being said, here is Chapter 20, A Hero is on Their Way. Roman glared down at his paper as if he had personally offended him, and it kinda had. He tapped the back of his pencil on the paper repeatedly as he glossed over what he wrote. He frowned, and his pencil froze before he sighed and his head fell forward onto his desk. "These are all stupid," he groaned, picking up his head. He quickly thought through each option he wrote. Bouquet of flowers, too extra, he'd hate it. He quickly scribbled it out. Poetry, too cheesy, he'd hate that too. Scratch. We already went out on an adventure through the city. Scratch that. Dinner and a movie. Even he said it was a cliché. Scratch, scratch. Why is this so hard? He leaned back in his chair and dropped his pencil. This usually is so easy for me. I've gone on plenty of dates. Why is this so difficult? I'm a romantic guy. Surely I could think of something. Roman covered his face with his hands and pushed them back through his hair. My brain is too fried. I can't keep thinking of anything at this rate. He sat there in silence for a while, rubbing his head and wishing the forming headache would go away before it even arrived. He heard a knock on his door and sat up before calling them in. Roman, could I spare a moment of your time? Sure, Logan. What could I help you with? He slung an arm over his chair and turned towards the door, taking in Logan's form. He looked just as put together as he always did, but the look on his face showed he had been troubled with something. Are you okay? I have a problem that I just need some advice on. He adjusted his glasses and looked away. What activities do you perform to increase your self-esteem? Roman watched him before getting up out of his chair and walking over. Are you all right? Indeed. But it seems I have a task that requires an abnormally high level of self-esteem to accomplish, and I am looking for advice. Roman was only baffled by the statement. What could you possibly be doing that you need an ego boost like that? Well, after some research about Roman held up his hand and cut him off. He reached over and placed a hand on Logan's back, guiding him towards the chair he had just been occupying. After getting him to sit down, Roman sat on his bed. Continue, but tell me what the problem you are having is so I can help. Well, a quick search shows that the best way to get over one's crush is to— Whoa! Roman shut up and crossed his arms. You don't just get rid of a crush, Logan. Why would you even want to? I already stated that Patton and I are not compatible. Was I not clear on that before? Roman simply started rubbing his head before turning toward his bedside table and looking for some aspirin. So, you Googled how to get over a crush. He grabbed 2 pills and reached for his bottle of water. That's your big plan? The first few steps are simple enough. Admitting and accepting the feelings are there is step 1. It took me a while, but I went through it. Then I had to think of some negative things I do not enjoy about Patton, which was much more difficult. Most habits I've started to see as endearing, which apparently is a side effect of a crush. You're treating this as if you caught a cold. Logan looked confused at that statement. Is there another way to treat it? Love is not an illness, Logan. It is causing me harm, and I wish to do away with it. What would you have me do? Tell him! Roman angrily capped his water bottle and placed it on the table and went over to the paper he had been scribbling on all evening. He picked it up and shoved it in Logan's face. Look, I'm in the same boat as you, but instead of feeling sorry for myself and acting as if a bandage would fix it, I've been looking into letting my feelings out. Logan scanned the paper with pure curiosity. You never know if you don't take the chance. If he doesn't like you back, or it doesn't work, you figure something out. We're all adults here. That is much easier said than done, Logan mumbled before letting the paper fall into his lap. There does seem to be an easy answer when dealing with such an intense emotion. What would helping your ego even do? Well, the next step was self-reflection, and how you were able to live without the other to help you accept it was not possible. They said to think how you were better without them, but I do not believe I am. I've learned that every friendship helps shape you as a better person. You all make it. Roman froze and watched Logan closely. He had looked as put together as he always did, but Roman started noticing his eyes shifting. How uncomfortable he looked. How tired he seemed. He walked over and sat on his bed next to him, pulling Logan close. I'm sorry, he muttered. Logan leaned his head on Roman's shoulder a bit, but said nothing. I get it. I do. I'm sorry for yelling. Roman rubbed Logan's back gently, causing the other to pull away and adjust himself as if it never happened. One thing, Roman said, gaining Logan's attention. You do one thing with me, and if you still want to try and get over this crush at the end, I'll help you. Logan had looked tired from a distance, but Roman wasn't sure he had even slept the night before. Looking at the man next to him, it seemed this had kept him awake for far too long. All right. What did you have in mind? Roman looked at the clock and smirked a bit. Take a nap and meet back here in an hour and a half. Eat if you have time. If not, I'll go wake you. He smiled brightly at Logan, a twinkle in his eye. You're gonna need your energy. Logan set alarms and knocked on Roman's door exactly an hour and a half later. He didn't have to wait until the door opened, Roman in his regal superhero costume standing before him. Excellent timing, my sidekick. Logan blinked and nodded his head once. Okay, this was a terrible idea. I'll see you tomorrow, Roman. He turned to walk back to his room, but Roman reached out and grabbed him, forcefully dragging him into his room. Roman quickly shoved something into his arms and glanced down, shifting them over and reaching up, picking up the piece on top. You're joking. The cheap masquerade mask stared back at him, and Logan realized what his plan was. How would this help me in any way? Come on, don't you trust me? Logan raised an eyebrow and Roman sighed. Fine. But let me at least explain myself before you go doubting me. Very well. Logan quickly pulled the sweater over his head and held up the mask. I will put this on when I have to, and not a moment sooner. You have to put it on as soon as we leave. No one can know our secret identity. Logan looked unamused, and Roman sighed, dropping his act. We're all preparing for the worst-case scenario, except you. You never use your powers, and they're a big part of you. What better way to get to know yourself better? You theorized that getting to know myself better will determine if I was right, if I belonged with Patton. Logan inspected the mask a bit more. That is one way of looking at things, I suppose. He slipped the mask on and looked up at Roman. I can barely see through this atrocious thing. Roman stepped closer and adjusted the mask accordingly. Well, Virgil made mine to fit my face, and This was my old one, so you'll have to deal. It's either this or I make one quickly out of cardboard, and you are not running around the city with me like that." Logan simply glared at Roman, then held up his glasses. Roman looked at them for a moment. "Oh. Whoops. Yes. What is your solution for this, then?" Roman put a hand on his chin and hummed to himself before smiling. "How much do you like the Ninja Turtles?" "I beg your pardon?" Roman went over to his closet and dug around. "I have some purple fabric somewhere. Virgil let me have it. It was just some scrap left over from his sweater, but I think it'll make a great eye cover for you, like Donatello. It's perfect. You're both nerds." Logan sighed and questioned himself as Roman pulled out a strap of fabric and cut 2 holes for his eyes crudely out of it. Roman was eager to get out, laying down a few rules as they gathered their things before they left. Roman made sure he covered every base he could think of. He was the hero with the more experience, and Logan was simply following along for one night. Roman insisted he joins him again if he was feeling up for it, knowing Logan probably would never take him up on the offer. Logan begrudgingly followed Roman out of the door and down a few streets in silence, thinking to himself as he inspected the small bag Roman was making him carry. "Where are we headed exactly? I don't understand how this part of your ability works." "Ah, I'll be glad to explain it to you," Roman explained loudly. "First off, it works 2 separate ways and depends on my mood." Roman stopped walking and spun around. "If I'm in a good mood, I can track down those in a negative mood and will attract those in a positive one. The opposite works as well. If I'm feeling down, I will attract people who feel similarly, but I will also be attracted to those who are in a good mood, kind of like magnets." "So, you follow this feeling, and you just so happen to find criminals?" "Well, not exactly," Roman muttered out. "Sometimes I will find those who just need someone to listen to a bad day." Roman then pointed to a bag in Logan's hands. "That is what I have this for. A few pick-me-ups in case we run into people who need one. Also a water, because we need to stay hydrated, and a backup energy drink in case I get into danger." Logan lifted up the bag he was carrying for a moment. "Please tell me there are an efficient amount of first aid supplies in here." "There's enough, don't worry." "That doesn't answer my question, Shh. If you call me something, call me Prince, or whatever. Secret identities." Logan rolled his eyes, something he knows Roman could not see from behind his mask. "Fair enough, Your Majesty." "Ha! I like that nickname. Now on to important business. You." "What about me?" Roman began walking down the street, leaving Logan to jog and catch up. "You never use your powers, which is strange considering there doesn't seem to be any known factor stopping you. We are all accepting and encourage it at home, so why are you such a stick in the mud, There are more polite ways of asking what stops me from using them. I digress. You do have a point. I have been limiting myself as much as possible. Let it be known that the very few things I've done at home were the most I have done in a while." Roman scoffed and looked down at Logan. "You know that's not true. You found us using them, yes?" "That's part of the reason why I stopped." Logan spoke softly and mostly to himself. "I guess I started doing it knowing no one would know. I didn't think there was anyone really like me until I accidentally stumbled upon Patton. Perhaps I felt guilty when I did, realizing I was invading people's personal privacy." "What?" What? It never really occurred to you before then?" Of course it had. It was just a slow decline where I guess I stopped caring." Roman turned and stood in front of Logan. You don't have to answer, but you never talk about your family. The answer is simple, really. I have nothing I want to talk about when it comes to them. Roman watched Logan for a moment before nodding. All right, so now we know nothing is really stopping you now, so there shouldn't be any problems. Roman looked away, missing Logan's uncomfortable glance away. So, we shall find some criminals and deal a swift hand of justice. Roman marched down the street with renewed energy. This is excellent. Together we will be unstoppable. That smoke creature won't stand a chance against us. I'm not too sure about that. I haven't even seen this creature, nor has Virgil. We still don't know how we can affect it. You said your powers didn't even slow the creature down. That does not mean I don't have a few tricks up my sleeves. I could shoot a charged shot, or maybe it's like a shadow, and some light will damage it. Roman stopped and took a few steps back, looking down a small alley. Hey, he whispered, waving Logan over. This way. Despite the rapid change in atmosphere, Roman still seemed at ease as he slowly made his way down the dark alley. Logan was a few steps behind, eyes racing around all the dark spots, looking for whatever Roman was taking them to. The noise slowly grew as he looked at the building next to them. Taking a chance, Logan took a peek through the walls, listening in on conversations. We're next to a bar, it seems, he whispered over as his eyes returned to normal. Roman ignored him and walked over to a short stairwell leading to the basement of the bar. He glanced over at Logan as his smile fell a bit. Well, here we are. Logan shook his head. We are not breaking into a building, he angrily whispered back. They could be doing something bad. Someone could be getting hurt. I can't walk away until I'm sure. I can just look in and check if it bothers you that much. Where's your sense of adventure? Logan stayed on top of the stairwell, glancing down the alleyway to make sure no one was approaching. Come on, we should go. This is highly illogical thinking for a hero. Roman gently reached for the door before looking over his shoulder with a frown. The door is locked. Then we shall leave it closed. Come on, can't you open it? Yes, but I'm not going to. They stared each other down, neither willing to give in. Logan stood up and took a step away, a silent threat to leave. Roman held up his hand as sparks shot out between his fingers, slowly reaching for the doorknob. I'll find a way in, with or without you. Logan groaned and adjusted his glasses needlessly before carefully walking down the stairs. He inspected the lock the best he could in the dark and closed his eyes, focusing. After a bit of silence, Roman shifted impatiently until a soft click was heard, and Logan reached for the door, turning the knob with no effort. There. That is so cool. How do you do that? Roman pushed the door open and took the lead. If I could figure out how something works, I can move only the pieces I need if I'm careful with enough concentration. They walked inside, a single light in the middle of the room on, a string hanging next to it. The basement was bare. Insulation and beams in view, and, as it hadn't been finished, a cheap wooden table and a throwaway couch occupied the area with nothing else around besides the door that possibly led upstairs. There's no one here. Can we go? Roman stood up tall as he made his way around the room. This is where it is, but nothing is here. It's just some empty room. He made his way over to the table and inspecting an empty beer bottle. I've never been wrong before, unable to find anyone on bad days, yes, but not finding nothing. We should just go and stop someone from taking too many parking spaces or something of that nature. The door burst open and two men walked into the room, immediately stopping and staring at them. The hell? The second one pushed his friend out of the way. The fuck are you two doing down here? Logan held up his hands defensively. I'm sorry, we were just on our way out. Right, Prince? The first guy reached behind his back, and Logan immediately turned to Roman, dropping the bag and dividing. He pushed Roman behind the couch and grabbed the table with his powers. He brought it closer and gave them shelter as a noise rang through the basement. I'm pretty sure he has a gun. Roman set himself up and pushed his back against the couch. Give me the bag. I can handle this. He looked over at Logan, who had both his hands raised up, holding onto the table for stability. Where is it? Get out here now. Logan winced at the sound of them yelling. I dropped it. He glanced around and picked up a screwdriver, peering around the table. Roman, I have an idea. Good. We need one right now. Logan held out a screwdriver, and Roman reluctantly grabbed it. Logan pointed it up, and Roman spared a glance before looking confused. The light bulb. Attack the socket with the screwdriver. What? That won't work. You have electrical abilities. Make it dark at least. Logan dug a small flashlight keychain out of his pocket. That's it. Time's up. No, wait, Roman shouted. Sorry, we're getting up, okay? He kneeled down and started pushing himself off of the floor. He looked over at Logan, who nodded at him, following suit. Okay, we're standing up now. They waited a moment before Logan's eyes lit up once more, pushing the table towards the two men before it shot across the room, ramming into them. As they were distracted and jumping out of the way, Roman shot up and aimed straight for the light socket, plunging them into darkness. It was silent as the table was pushed out of the way and fell onto the floor. No one moved. Not a single noise was heard, besides the frantic heartbeats each felt around the room. Roman flashed in a pale blue light for a moment before the room was brought back to life. His hands sparked angrily as he smiled. I thought that only worked in movies, he cried out happily. The one man held up his gun and shot out, Roman's bolts already forming a shield for himself. The bullet hit it, and he stumbled a bit before catching himself. Flinching, he opened his eyes and looked down, noticing the shell on the floor next to his foot. This is the coolest thing I've ever done. Not now, Logan cried out angrily, now back hiding behind the couch. Roman flinched back again as two more shots rang out, hitting his shield. The man holding the gun wavered in anger. Why won't you go down? Who the fuck are you? Roman smirked and jumped over the couch, feeling every bit of hero he thought he was. He reached up and grabbed the gun quickly, causing the shock to make its owner release it. He tossed it to the side and punched the man in the face before grabbing the front of his shirt and pulling him back to do it again. Roman let go and looked over at the second guy before letting out a quick shockwave, knocking him back onto the floor and unconscious. Roman let sparks die down a bit and looked over at the couch. That was so cool. Did you see me? Logan peered over the couch cautiously with a small flashlight before releasing his breath of relief. No, I did not see it. Aw, it was so cool. I dived over the couch and grabbed the gun with my bare hand. Roman acted out the scene dramatically as he told it. Then, Roman jolted and froze as he stopped speaking, letting out a silent scream. He took a few steps forward and grabbed his side, turning around and finding a man with a knife. The hell are you two doing down here? Roman! Logan cried out, standing up behind the couch. The man ignored him and kept his eyes on Roman as he carefully approached. Logan grit his teeth and glared over at him before hopping over the couch himself. His eyes glowed fiercely. The sound of his feet landing on the ground grabbed the criminal's attention. You're the last one? Good. He held up a hand and balled into a fist, watching the man suddenly drop to the ground unconscious. Logan stared at him for a moment before racing over and grabbing a hold of Roman. Are you okay? You're an idiot, you know that? Yeah. Pocket knife. Luckily hit my sash as well. Didn't cut that much, but damn does that sting. Logan grabbed one of Roman's wrists, holding onto the side, and pulled it away. His eyes still glowed as they flickered over the damage. You're hardly bleeding, but we should get back home and have this cleaned and bandaged immediately. You may not even need stitches. Good. Don't don't know how to explain this to the cops, and I doubt Virgil would be willing to patch me up. Logan looked up at Roman, who did a confused look. What? You look creepy and totally awesome like that, by the way. He glanced down at the man on the floor. What did you do? Logan backed away from Roman a step and looked down at him. He'll wake up in the morning. A new man. Apparently, this is a small drug ring, using the bar as a front. His conscience will make him turn him and all of his buddies in. None of them will remember any of this. You got all of that at first glance? No. I dug around a bit, but that's all that was useful. Roman watched Logan go over to the abandoned bag on the floor and pick it up, a stoic look on his face. He turned and faced Roman and frowned a bit. So, tell me, are all your nights usually like this? Roman shamefully looked away. I guess I was a bit overconfident with you here, and it led me into a bad situation. You need to be more careful. Do you see how this could have easily led you to getting shot? Or worse? Roman looked up at Logan, meeting his eyes. I do. I am sorry. You're right. Let's just go home. Logan reached into a bag and pulled out the throwaway burner phone Roman used on his nights out in case of emergencies. I'm calling Virgil. I do not need to risk you walking across the city and worsening your wounds. Roman carefully walked up and put his hand on the phone to stop Logan from dialing. That won't be necessary. He pushed the phone down and slowly made his way out the door back into the alley. Logan stayed behind Roman as he carefully made his way up the stairs, wincing a bit with each step. It's not deep, so why does it hurt so much? It is probably dependent on how many nerves are afflicted. What the fuck, Roman? Logan jumped as Roman started chuckling to himself. He glanced over and saw Virgil standing a few feet away, frantically approaching. How did you... Virgil here is always worried I'll hurt myself and keeps an eye on me while I patrol. I thought you would be his common sense, Logan, seeing as he doesn't use his ever. Virgil looked over, and Roman pulled his hand away, blood soaking through the white jacket. I fear. What would have happened if I wasn't here tonight? Come on, I'll get us home and patch you up so I can beat the hell out of you for this. Despite his threats, Virgil was careful with his touches and helped Roman walk, despite the fact he didn't need it. A quick pop through stopped time, and a portal later, they were all in the kitchen, and Virgil was ordering them around while racing to get his first aid kit. Logan placed the bag they had brought with them on the table and got some old washcloths they're probably going to have to throw away after this. He returned to the kitchen to find Virgil helping Roman undress while slightly throwing insults at him, which only made Roman smile. Do you require my assistance? Virgil inspected the wound and let out a sigh of relief. No, this is particularly a band-aid job once I get it to stop bleeding after it's cleaned out. It's a good thing I'm paranoid about injuries and read up about this stuff. He stood up and glared at Roman. I'm no doctor, though, so you won't be getting good bedside manners. Oh, won't you kiss it better for me? To Virgil, he brushed off the comment and started digging through his decently sized first aid kit. To Logan, however, he could see Roman's face flush red and his smile falls just a bit when Virgil looked away. He wondered how Roman did it, even in moments like this. It was painfully obvious he liked Virgil, even if neither of them was sure the other's feelings were reciprocated. That's when the thought went through Logan's head. You could find out in an instant. He pulled off the fabric mask and adjusted his glasses back onto his face, dismissing himself from the kitchen and making his way to his room. That's why he never used his powers. It was too tempting. Just a quick look to see what they think, maybe to find out what they want. It always grew from there. Logan didn't trust himself enough to wildly use his abilities and not hurt someone or invade their privacy. He was doomed to live a life stuck in the middle, wanting to use them, but can't. But why is he doing that to himself? Pat even said with some time he could practice, he could... Something clicked inside of Logan for a moment. The last time he had this debate with himself, he was alone. No one to help him through his problems, and no support to be there when he needed it. Suddenly, he felt as if he could, if he tried, because he had people there. He stood up and removed his silly sweater Roman gave him as his superhero costume and threw it on the floor, barely bothering to fix his glasses and leaving his hair a disheveled mess. He marched past the kitchen, earning a confused glance from Roman as Virgil was too busy yelling at him for his injuries. He marched up to Patton's door and knocked before he thought otherwise. Silence fell, and he had this sinking feeling in his chest, telling him to back out before he did something stupid. The door opened, and a tired Patton blinked up at him, glasses missing from his face. Patton, I'm sorry you were asleep. Logan flinched a bit. Right. It was late when I left, wasn't it? I apologize. No, it's okay. Anytime you want to talk, I'm here. Patton blinked and watched Logan shuffle around uncomfortably. What's wrong, Lo? I was wondering if... Logan sighed and stood up, straight and tall. I was wondering, since we both currently don't have plans for tomorrow evening, if you'd like to accompany me out. Logan watched Patton as he felt his face grow hot. Patton stood there for a moment, head tilting slightly as he took in the words. You want us to hang out tomorrow? You don't need to ask, silly. I'd love to hang out with you. No, not what of course. Silly me. I don't know why I felt I should ask. Logan decided to retreat to be his best option. I will see you tomorrow. Please get some rest. Logan had turned to quickly retreat back to his room before a hand reached out and grabbed him. Logan, wait. He froze and looked over his shoulder, Patton's eyes wide as their eyes met. Are you? Yes, Patton, I'm fine. No. Are you asking me out? On a date? Logan's breath caught in his throat as he nodded. Patton pulled his hand back and let it fall to his side. Oh. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like to complete what that freaking cliffhanger was, because that's a cliffhanger if I do say so myself, go ahead and hit subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified when I upload the next chapter tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening, and much like Logan trying to ask out Patton, do your best.